Welcome to Fueling Your Legacy, hosted by Samuel Knickerbocker. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a new, stronger foundation essential in creating your legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. Welcome back to Fueling Your Legacy, and we are excited for today. I am excited anyways. Today we get to talk about something that really, for me, I would say even started me diving deep into who I was, what I was, and really how to process through all the pain of my past life, my childhood, all of these things. How can I actually transform my mind and let other perspectives into my mind so that I can grow and become more than I ever have been before? And that really started with a TED Talk by Brene on the power of vulnerability. Now she's got a book out, and it's a fantastic book. I think everybody should read it, just to really understand why vulnerability is so important and how it can bless your life to be willing to open up your heart and allow yourself to go forward to those around you. And that is really where this is going to go today. Just as a precursor or a little bit of explanation to the TED Talk, as well as her story. So you kind of get a little bit of taste from her, but honestly, you just need to go watch it. I'm going to put a link to the TED Talk in the show notes, as well as to a book, which is The Power of Vulnerability, there on Amazon. You can go and check that out. I think it's an audiobook, the one that I've linked there, just because I like audiobooks the best. But definitely go and check those out, because they're going to help you transform your mind. Along with that, if you see value in this, please leave a comment, create a discussion on the Facebook page, as well as leave a review on the iTunes or wherever you're listening to this, wherever you subscribe to my podcast. Put a review on there and how this has helped you. And if you can, go ahead and share this with other people so they can also see the power in vulnerability, see the power in being willing to open themselves up and really get in touch with all of who they are. I talked a little bit about this on Monday, about being in touch with all the good and all the bad of myself, but I think it's just crucial for us to dive even deeper. So I'm going to share some personal experiences there, but definitely go check that out, like, subscribe, and then share this with other people. Again, this is always the truth. If you are willing to do a screenshot and share it with your social media and tag me in it, then I will give you a shout out here on the Fueling Your Legacy podcast. Excited for that. And then also go check out my new website, samknickerbocker.com. There you'll have access to my podcast. If you are unsure about how to find it, you can get it there through the resources page, as well as if you want to have access to my book, The 9 Pillars to Build a Meaningful Legacy, and the reason to really build a meaningful legacy, what it will mean to you and your future generations if you do so. That's going to be there, as well as just some testimonials. You can see what it's like to work with me as a client and how that's helped different individuals. I also have a Facebook mastermind group, and then I'll soon be having a webinar that is on there as well. So lots of content there. If you just like the podcast, but you want to go a little bit deeper into things that can help you, there's also an opportunity to have a free strategy session there with me through a little application message thing on my website, so that we can meet up and see if there's any way that I can bless your life or help you transform your identity and transform the things that you love and are passionate about, and take that into being a legacy so that you're never forgotten, and that throughout the generations you're going to be remembered. So that is all there on my website, samknickerbocker.com. Please go and check that out. And then if you can, just leave reviews and see what I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about that. But let's dive in here. So Brene, she's a researcher, psychologist, therapist, and she just loves research. Well, she wanted to find out, she believed inside of her mind that connection was the point of what she wanted to study. So she started studying connection, started asking people about connection, and found out that connection really comes from I guess the thing that keeps people away from connection is shame. And shame is essentially, the way she defines it as, shame is the feeling that if somebody were to find out something about you, you would no longer be loved, and thus you would lose connection. So shame is the fear of loss of connection. And based on that, so what heals that is ultimately vulnerability. And she goes through a whole process. I'm not going to outline that. I think that's her story to tell. What I'm here to tell is really from my experience of reading this book and how it changed my life. So I first heard of this talk right after I served my LDS or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints mission. And I'm so grateful to have had that opportunity to really expand myself, be paired with, I think there was I had 12 to 13 different people that I was paired with over those 2 years. And it really helped me as an individual grow to see myself next to and paired with so many different personalities. That helped me hugely when it came to marriage. It helped me understand, okay, to really connect, to really work in tandem with somebody and work like together and as one with another individual. It was going to take some real, work, honestly. And it took a level of self-disclosure. It took a level of like, hey, we just got paired together. We didn't get asked to put together, but we have to make it work. We have to be able to teach together. We have to be able to go out and spend literally all of your waking hours with this individual. And I don't know if you've ever been in that position outside of your wife, but from the people I know, the marriages I know, you don't even spend that much time with your spouse or your children. So like literally 24 hours you're going to be spending with this other partner. And I had some that I got along with great. We seemed to just hit it off, and it wasn't very difficult for us to jive. But there were others that I really, really struggled growing to love, growing to understand. I had one particular partner that I was partnered with, and I kid you not, we would wrestle. Like we disagreed so much, just completely different backgrounds. And I almost had like anxiety or a little bit of animosity, really. It's just like, I just didn't like who this kid was. And I felt that way for almost 3 months that we were paired together. And then 2 weeks before we got separated and went on to a new companion there, we had a call with their family. It was Mother's Day, and we got to call the family. And I got to see his whole family. I got to see the environment that he grew up in, his parents, his siblings, and how they interacted. And that, me getting to know him on another level outside of like our relationship, but seeing how he operated in his environment, how he was raised, and seeing where a lot of the things that just frustrated me, they actually were like generational. There were things and traits that were passed down, and there were actually things in his family that were very special about his family. And when I recognized that, literally all of my walls, all of my dislike or distrust or anything, it just fell. I just like, oh wow, I finally understand this individual, and I love this kid now. Love to go out to lunch with him and spend time with him now that we're back here in Utah. And it really comes down to how well do you know this person? There's one of my favorite phrases absolutely ever are there's two types of people in this world: the ones you love and the ones you don't know. Okay. There's only two types of people in this world: the ones you love and the ones you don't know. And I heard that on my mission as well. And I was still processing through this, but after I served my 2-year mission, I decided, okay, for me to get married, I really am going to have to dig deep into myself and accept all of my past. And at that point in my life, I had kind of forgiven, as far as my mom, my dad, everybody in my life who I felt were the oppressors and the abusers and things. They had all long since changed. Now they're incredible people, and I love them dearly. But and so I had forgiven them. As far as the emotion, I felt like I had released a lot of the emotion as far as hate, anger, fear, like that from my life. But what I hadn't done is really gone back and dug through each individual experience. And I talked about this on Monday, how you can release the pain and anger from something in general, but it is important to go back to each of those circumstances. My problem was that as a way of survival as a child, I had actually tried to blank out whole chunks of my childhood because I just didn't want to deal with it. It was too painful for me to experience that. And the problem with not being willing to experience the pain is you also are not able to experience the joy. And I think that is so crucial inside of ourselves. I mentioned this on a live video on my Facebook page on Sunday, but the idea of perfection in my mind makes the most sense when we're talking about balance. We have to have all of the pain and all of the love coexisting, and that creates a perfect person and a perfect set of emotion and perfect environment. And so because I had chosen to ignore all the pain and to just say, I'm not going to deal with it, I'm not going to address it, I was also saying no to all of the joy, all of the love, all of the greatness, all of the great lessons that I could have learned from my parents that I just had blanked out. I blanked out all the good and all the bad. There's a phrase, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, really, that's what I had done with most of my childhood. I just kind of blanked it out. And from about, I would say easily from about 6 to 12 years old, I just had forgotten. I had blanked it out. There was a few happy memories that were just positive, and then there was a few painful memories that I'd accepted into my life. But a day-to-day, I hadn't gone and dealt with. And I knew that I needed to deal with them before I was going to go get in a forever long relationship with a spouse. And so I went to some therapists. I got on some coaching calls. I said, how do I do this? I had to go through multiple therapists myself because growing up in a home with a narcissistic parent, I became a master of manipulation as well. Like, you have to learn how to survive. You have to learn how to manipulate situations so that they feel like they're being gratified, but you're not losing too much ground on your own. And so I'd become a master manipulator to the point where I recognized inside myself, inside my mind, that just in regular conversation with people, I would omit certain things, certain facts, because I didn't want to share the whole truth. I could still be completely honest, never say a lie, never directly lie about something, and still omit the facts to some of the facts that would make me look bad, just completely omit them so that I look great. And I went through probably 3 or 4 different therapists, trying to find one that was willing to call me on my crap, willing to just call Sam out and say, hey, look, that doesn't make sense. You're sugarcoating this. This sounds too good to be true. Where's the victim? How are you taking responsibility for this? Because I had just constructed this whole narrative of how it was somebody else's fault, how somebody else should have done something different, how my life should have been done something else. And I had to learn to take ownership. And that was really a struggle for me to learn to take ownership. Hey, Nicola, if you want to put a link in there, that'd be awesome. And share this. But this is just so crucial to understand the power in being vulnerable. So I started going to therapists. I finally found one who was willing to help me out. And what they instructed me to do was actually go to all of my past, go through all of my childhood and get as many pictures of my childhood as I could. So I now have, probably 100 plus pictures of different time periods of my childhood. And what this did, it sparked up a lot of memories, a lot of things that were just painful inside of me that I didn't like. A lot of the poverty that we went through, I didn't like. In my childhood memories, I don't remember us being so poor, living in such terrible conditions. We were lucky to have a roof over our head for sure, but our house was just, it was a condemned house. Like, literally, we moved into a condemned house as a child when I was born, shortly after I was born. And then as a family, we rebuilt it. Now, that's a great thing that as a family, we worked together and we rebuilt this thing. But also I have to recognize that, legit, we were in a crappy, other people looking at our house, it looked like a condemned building and we were squatters. That's what it looked like. And so that took a lot of emotion to go back to these experiences and realize just how terrible my childhood was. But on the other hand, as I allowed myself to go into these experiences and realize all of the pain, all of the sorrow, all of the abuse, all of the neglect, all of that, all of the lies, all the times that we would have people, well, I don't even know where it started, honestly, but we were trained by how our parents would react to the outside world. We were trained to react similar. So I'll share one example. Me as a I don't know how old I was, probably 5 or 6 years old, learning my ABCs. My mom and I would be on her bed learning the ABCs. And at this time, again, she was very stressed, had a lot going on, and she would be yelling, red in the face, spit flying, upset that I was not being able to do these ABCs. And there was a lot of abuse, a lot of spanking, a lot of things that went along with that. What was crazy, though, is the phone would ring. When the phone would ring, she would pick it up, going from absolute shaking red anger directed at me because I don't know how to see my ABCs. She would pick up the phone and be like, hello, this is Gail Knickerbocker speaking, and just in the most pleasant, nothing was going on. She had not just beat me. I wasn't screaming. She's got her hand over my mouth to keep me from letting the person on the other side of the phone know that what was going on. And she's talking in like this most pleasant voice. And all I wanted when I was doing my ABCs was for my mom to get a phone call, because that meant a relief, at least for a short period of time for me. And I dreaded the moment when that phone would hang up, because when that phone hung up, it was back to like instantly this monster, right? And from a 1 to 2 year old mind, it was just this monster. Well, I would say 5 or 6, but this monster of a being with all this anger and fear and things directed right at me. That was my experience of learning my ABCs. And I could dwell on all the painful past, or I could dwell on the fact that my mom loved me enough to send all of her other children to an institution that she felt was very damaging and kind of run by the devil, right? She was willing to sacrifice a lot with her other children so that she could help me, right? And so I was so focused on all of the negative that I blanked it out from my childhood, and I wasn't willing to accept the pain there. But on the flip side, I also was neglecting to accept and realize the love that my mom had for me. Although she didn't know how to express it, although she struggled at that point, now my mom and I have the best relationship that I could imagine. I love my mom, and she's fantastic. And there's healing that both of us had to go through for us to get to the point that we are now in our relationship. But that is what it took. It took being vulnerable enough for myself, opening myself up, going in and delving deep into the pain of that experience so that we could experience not just the pain, but all the love, the joy, the gratitude, the thankfulness inside of ourselves. And that is what just really blew my mind when I started going through all these experiences, is how much love I actually have for my brothers and sisters, my parents, the other people in my life who I was terrified of, that I had such negative experiences with as a child. And yet, because I was blanking those out, I was losing so much of the love, so much of the care and concern that they actually had, just struggled to express it. And now that our relationship's healed, we can go back and discuss those. And it's painful. It's painful. My mom and I have had many discussions here. It's painful for me to talk about these stories for her, and to hear this being broadcast to everybody. But on the flip side, in my mind, yes, it's painful, but because of that pain, there's also an equal and opposite amount of love and joy that comes from those experiences. And so when it comes to vulnerability, and why vulnerability is so important, is when you're in a relationship with somebody, or anytime, if you're not willing to really open up yourself and share all of it with the world, then you're depriving them of really the experience of the love and all of the joy. You cannot really experience the full amount of love, joy, connection, gratitude, peace, if you're unwilling to look at the pain. Something that Brene Brown said in her TED Talk is you can't selectively numb. So this got me on this kick, right, of where I was off my mission, going through this whole process of discovering myself and really identifying who Sam is, what does he want to take from his childhood and bring into his relationship, and what aspects does he not. But the only way I was able to do that was to be extremely vulnerable with myself and be aware. But also what it took is when I was dating people, it took me to go and revisit all of this crap with a new person. I dated over 100 different people, or went on dates with them, not like in a relationship, but I went on dates with over 100 different girls during my time of trying to find a spouse. And I would share a lot of this with them. And after 2 weeks, some of these girls, they're just like, you know what, Sam, have a nice day. They were not really prepared for that much connection, for that much exposure of who Sam is, all of his crap, all of his addictive behaviors, all of his pain, all of his sorrow, everything. They just didn't want to deal with it. And so they would say, hey, it's not working out, or whatever excuse they gave. And I don't blame them. But I learned from very early on that I needed to share those experiences. I didn't want any confusion about who I was to the person that I was going to marry. And when I finally met Charlie and we started dating, because I had journaled a lot of my childhood, I had journaled a lot of all of my mission, I had journaled all of this processing and everything. When we finally started dating, I actually gave her my journals and let her read and kind of watch me grow up. That takes imagine all of your secrets, all of the pain, all of the crap, all the things that you literally have never told anybody, and you just wrote it in your journal. Or even sometimes you didn't write it because you were too scared to write it, and you just referenced that something happened. And then you allow your significant other, the one that you love or want to love, you pass all of that over and you say, hey, read this. This is who I am. This is who I've become. And are you willing to accept that? That takes an incredible amount of vulnerability. What I learned since is that because not everybody's ready for that amount of vulnerability, I generally will ask somebody how much they want to know about me before I start just really unloading on them. Because out of respect for them, some people, that's just not what they want to know about Sam. For the sake of this podcast, I don't care if you don't want to know about me, turn off the podcast. I really want you to understand that it's okay to open up and share your deep, dark secrets. It's also okay to open up and share that love. But I think that it's harder to share the love if you're not willing to express and at least understand that the pain was there, because the pain amplifies and I don't know what I think amplify is the best word. It creates that love. It makes that love so much more deep and so much more profound by knowing the pain and knowing the trial and the overcoming of the struggle. So that's really what I gained from this whole experience of reading through and studying Brene Brown and why vulnerability is so crucial in the research. Is it allowed me to open up. It allowed me to be completely open and frank and honest with and in integrity with Charlie when I was getting married. It allows me in business. I have tons of people in business who come in and they're like, man, Sam, I don't like him. He's too direct. He's too whatever. And I think, you know what? If they took the time to get to know me, I am absolutely certain people would love me if they took the time to get to know me. But also, I don't blame them for judging me. I don't blame them for not wanting to work with me. I know I'm not everybody's person. I know that I communicate super direct to people, and that's not how everybody wants to be communicated to. I have people in my life, people that I really respect, coaches, mentors that I've seen, and I'm totally willing to refer people to them. But for me, their communication strategy just doesn't work for me. And it's not about them. It's about a communication style. And it doesn't mean their content's not good. It doesn't mean that they're not doing their best to serve and love and bless other people. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means communication style is important. And I know my communication style. I know what helps me become the best that I can be and what motivates me. And people who don't communicate that way, I don't necessarily avoid them, but I'm not going to subject myself to somebody who I feel doesn't communicate a way that I want to be communicated to. And that was a huge factor when I was dating. And I was very clear about that in my dating life up until marriage. And still, it's an evolving thing in marriage, learning to communicate with a spouse as we have more children. And there's so many more things and struggles and trials that are coming up on a daily basis. This is a constant journey. Like, it doesn't end. It doesn't just all of a sudden, like, you figured it out once and then it's over. No, it's a constant working towards blessing each other's lives and being willing to be vulnerable and share, hey, this is my fear. How can we work through this? This is the things that I love about myself. These are the things that I don't see in myself, but I'd love to. When you give me these types of compliments, I don't see that, and it almost causes me pain because I don't feel that way about myself. So exposing yourself to that type of vulnerability, I think there's certain people that you can be that vulnerable with, but I think it's good to definitely be vulnerable with your spouse and be willing to share all of you with your spouse, all of you with your children, and any real relationships that you have. I think it's important to be vulnerable and to express yourself completely. And in that willingness to be vulnerable, then you actually gain some of the sweetest, most empowering healing that I've ever experienced in my life. And I don't really know how to explain. I was talking to my wife about a speech that I gave in Toastmasters, which I'll probably post here on Facebook. But when does when does he emotionally connect with this audience the most? And I go through stages, right? I like humor. I think I'm funny. I don't know if I am or not, but I like humor. I'd like to share my pain, but my pain is just kind of a passing thought. And the love of what I gained through the pain, the rebirth after the pain is what I tend to love. And that's when I feel the most emotional and vulnerable, is when I'm talking about my love and what I gained out of those experiences. And then there's this stage of confidence that I feel bulletproof. I feel like nothing anybody can say is going to just even bring me down, because I'm so positive about the way I feel, and I love expressing that to people. And that is really how powerful I feel about being vulnerable. It's from my toes to my head, going through my whole body. It's goosebumps. You've got to learn to be vulnerable, especially with the ones you love. And as you do so, I promise your relationships are going to increase. And share. Don't worry so much about what other people think, because they're probably not thinking about you. They probably have forgotten that you exist the moment you're out of their sight. As sad as that sounds, it's true. That's why marketing, that's why people are on TV and they're on so many different places, because they want to keep impressing you. They want to keep showing you that you're there, because we as humans, we forget things that aren't relevant to us. And so if you're worried about what people think about you, just stop worrying about it, because they probably aren't thinking about you, and that's okay. If you want them to think about you, be present, but be vulnerable. Make sure you're having that connection. As you connect with somebody, as you become part of them, as you give part of you to them, then they've got a part of you. And it's a lot more difficult for them to forget you, because now part of them is you. You gave part of yourself to them, and part of their experiences you've connected, and now they can't ever forget you. And that is the real key to building a legacy that lasts, is making sure that in our life right now on a daily basis that we're being vulnerable, we're connecting enough with those around us so that they have no choice but to remember us and to share our message with the world. And so that is one of the goals here of fueling your legacy. If we were to melt this one point down into a habit, mindset, and behavior that is necessary. A habit, absolutely be vulnerable, be clear, and be willing to express all of yourself to the people that you need to do so. Also, the mindset is vulnerability it's not good or bad, it just is, and it is necessary for connection. Vulnerability is necessary for connection. Okay. And then the behavior is to actually go out and do it. If you haven't been vulnerable, if you haven't been exposing all of the things and taking complete ownership of your situation, your life, your relationship, if you haven't done this yet, stop procrastinating and go complete the behavior. Start learning to be vulnerable. These people, it's so crazy. You think Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, these people, you think they could do anything in the world. They could have the best of everything. They could have the best cars. They could have anything they want. And you see what they drive. They're driving these cars that are 20, 30 years old. They're dressed in blue jeans and a t-shirt. Like, they're not this facade of a being. They're just being them because they're comfortable being them. And some people, when they first started showing up this way, were probably a little bit like, why are you doing this? Why are you dropping the status level of who you are? And it's like, because that's how I'm comfortable. This is what I want to do. And it's so important to learn to be vulnerable in every situation. So that hopefully you got a ton out of this, taking notes, and you're able to create a good discussion here on Facebook. But the next thing I would say is stay tuned for Friday, because we are going deep. Like I said on Monday, it's such a deep topic. When Natalie Bushnell gets on, it is explicit. I'm going to throw that warning out again. If you're offended by language, then don't listen to it. You'll miss out on some really great content, or just deal with the language. There's not that many, and it's not that bad. But I want to give people fair warning, because I know a lot of moms listen to this with their children and things. So I just want to make sure that people are aware of what's going to be said. But on that note, you definitely don't want to miss how deep she's going to go, because she's a master healer. She can help you and guide you through things that just you've probably never considered before. The depth of both the pain and the depth of the joy. Think of the most pleasurable thing that you've ever experienced, and then times that feeling times 100. That's what she helps you achieve in your life. And so you definitely want to be listening to that. And then she's also got some great offers that she offers on there on the podcast as well. So look forward to that on Friday. It should be live no later than 10 a.m. Friday morning, but maybe even earlier. Sometimes I've been posting them Thursday night just because I want to have my Friday morning a little bit more free. So just stay tuned for that. It's going to be incredible. And then again, don't forget, if you screenshot this while you're listening to it and tag me in it, then I will also give you a shout out on the next podcast. Just while we've been doing this one, I am going to slaughter your last name. So please forgive me. But Tristan Chikolowski, he made a comment on the Facebook Live, and so I'm grateful for him and wanted to give him a shout out as well because he is doing the work. So thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time on Fueling Your Legacy. Thanks for joining us today. If what you heard resonated with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me so I can give you a shout out on the next episode. And thanks to all those who have left a review. It helps spread the message of what it really takes to build a legacy that lasts. Catch you next time on Fueling Your Legacy.